Good evening! Happy 1st of October! My name's Danny, says it right at the bottom of the screen, and this is Easy 8's Online Painting Club. Thanks very much for coming along once again for episode 47. Time is cruising on. Easy 8's first birthday is literally just around the corner, just a few weeks away from now, and I'm getting ever so excited. I'm a little bit late this evening because I had dinner really late because I was preparing for the show and just forgot what time it was, and my partner came home and fed me because she's lovely. So apologies for being a little bit tardy to the show. We'll make sure we stay on for a few minutes afterwards, make sure we get the full minimum 2 hours out of the show. If you are new here, Easy 8 is not a tutorial show by any stretch. It is a social club, so you can come along and paint your miniatures or whatever it is that you're painting with the company live over there with some friends. Maybe you want to show something off, maybe you want to get a bit of criticism, maybe just enjoy the company while you're getting through your backlog of grey plastic. Believe me, I know what it feels like. That's what we're here for. If you like what we do, of course, you can follow us here on YouTube. You can also see us over on Facebook. You can give us a like or a follow over there if you want to. And also, we're on Instagram. I'm just going to keep on pointing until I get it. Instagram, just here. And of course, we are here on YouTube. Like, follow us, and subscribe. Every little bit really helps us make this community every that little bit better. Every that little bit better. I was doing so well. So well. Loads of people that have come to join us early today in the live chat. Is it early or am I just really late? We got Leslie, we got Kess. Hi Kess. Hi Leslie. We got Adrian, and we got Luke, and we got Jeff. Oi, hello everybody. Thanks very much for coming along today. Looking forward to having a really good show. Something a little bit more interesting. Something I haven't touched on at all really since this show ever began. Jeff says, you're late because you spent the afternoon playing games. Yes, because I was over his house playing Water Tanker for the afternoon. I would have had loads of time if it wasn't for the fact that by the time I got to your house, I opened up the box to realise I hadn't brought actually a load of tanks, but I brought a load of Space Marine Terminators. So then I had to go all the way back up and then come all the way back down, therefore delaying the day. We played 2 games. I won one, he won one. The decider, put my teeth in, the decider is yet to be decided. It was a great day, had a cracking time. First games I think you've played, Dad, since before I was born? Maybe? Anyway, had a great day. Today, going to be looking at painting some Grimdark style from Warhammer 40,000's Grimdark aesthetic, which is what it's all about. For those of you that don't really understand that aesthetic, basically it is just grim and really dark. There's never really any kind of nice ending to anything. Sometimes there is. You've got to have a little rest from it, or a little reprieve. But generally, it's always a little bit gloomy. It's always very grim. It's very gothic. It's very dark. It's very dirty, I suppose, is a good way of explaining it. And there are many different ways in which to achieve different kinds of the grim dark appearance. Kyle, my co-host, who hasn't been with us for ages, has his own grim dark style, but basically priming all of his miniatures black, and then he comes in with a dry brush of his colours, and just the dry brushing of the colours alone is enough to kind of give the aesthetic of that grim dark feel that he really likes. I'm going to be doing something much different than what Kyle does today. Going to be using some techniques that I've picked up from various YouTubers, but the main one that's been loads of help to me is the Grimdark Compendium. If you're interested in having a look at the Grimdark Compendium's YouTube channel, there is a link to it in the description of this video, and I strongly urge you to go and have a little look. There are lots of videos that he's done. His whole thing is about Grimdark, but he has a 4-part series on how to start and kind of enter into that domain, if you like. He does a lot of his stuff with airbrush, as what I'm going to be doing this evening. You don't have to do it by airbrush. There's a lot of ways around some of the things that are in there. So would love to know what you guys are up to today. If you're bringing some hobby projects along, would love to know what it is that you're up to. So do get involved in the live chat. Have a little chat with everybody over there. We've got quite a few viewers early in today, which is really nice. Get chatting. And I will take you over to the workbench, but not before, of course. I've had a swig of the tea. Toothpastey. I'll pop that over there for a minute. Okay, so I've got a few additional bits and pieces beside me today. I've actually got my partner's Hairdryer, don't worry Chris, if you're watching, the last time we spoke about me borrowing someone's hairdryer, I had to get permission. I have permission because the enamel paints that we're going to be using today just are going to benefit from that additional drying time, because they can take a long time to dry, and I don't want to have most of the show sat waiting. So let's pop over to my workbench if I can find it here. Yoink, here we go. So here is the guy that I'm going to be working on today. I'm just going to enlarge my screen a little bit so I can see a little bit more of the detail going on. There we go, that's much better. So this is the Primaris Reaver from Space Marines, from Games Workshop, obviously. I showed you a little teaser on him last week. The concept of Grimdark is basically paint everything as basic as possible. So there's no highlighting, there's no shading or anything like that in there at all. No only mild details, just kind of bringing up a little badge on his chest, etc. And it feels a little restrictive doing that. It feels like I'm not doing what I should be doing. But yeah, basically everything that we're going to be doing this evening is going to be doing all of that work for us. I have done one slightly technical thing, and this is based off of the advice from Grimdark Compendium, which is I've done some pre-shading. So I primed this guy white, and then all over, so it was all coated nice and well. And then when I got that dry, I took it upside down and I sprayed in black. So you can see underneath that he's a lot more shaded than he is on the top. So then I sprayed a green colour all over, making sure that that pre-shading shows through a little bit. That is the only technical thing, I suppose, that I've really done. I did put a little bit of shading on his head. He's got bare skin on his head up there. I played the raptors, they're supposed to be very pale, and I was just wondering what the Reichland flesh shade would do over this very pale flesh colour that I used. That is all that I've done. So yeah, I've got a little logo on him. It's a 3D logo. About half an hour ago, I was thinking, hey, looking a bit bland. Oh, I haven't put any logos on him. Of course you would put transfers or water slide decals all over them, but on their shoulders. I've got from Pop Goes the Monkey, which is a private seller on the internet through Shapeways, who has a 3D printer and has just printed off loads of these logos or emblems or whatever for the Raptors chapter, because they don't really make them. Forge World used to do water slides. Haven't seen them around for a long time. I've got some, but one day I saw these and I think it was 10 quid for this whole strip, which is enough to do. There's 10 on each rail, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squads of 10 Marines. So I've used one before on a librarian that I've painted, and I've used this one. I've had them for ages. Have a little look at Pop Goes Monkey. He sells so much stuff. I assume it's a he, could be wrong. Yeah, so I put one of those on super glue because it is resin. Did a bit of a bad job with the super glue. You can see some shiny bits in there, but that's going to go later. A little bit of a paint of white on top, and then on this side over here, which I've still yet to finish off, is a little logo of the it's the old Fast Attack logo, but it's basically an assault squad icon on there. I've just got to try and iron that down with some chemicals I've just got over here, which I'll show you in just a moment. Pop Goes Monkey does do these. I didn't buy them at the time because I wanted to know what his other stuff was like. I didn't want to be buying too much and not kind of get on with it, but I get on with it. So when I do more Space Marines, I'll be doing 3D emblems all over. I'm a little bit shaky on the camera today because I was carrying massive boxes of scenery from house to house earlier on, and my arms are trembling a little bit, and I've also really hurt my back in an injury. So if I'm shaking a lot, I apologise, and I also might be groaning a little bit on live on air, but that adds to the realism of it all, I suppose. Luke has put in a Gobbo still in progress. The Gobbo from last week, of course. I'm loving loving that. I'd love to see some photos of it. So I've got a cork with a bit of a paper clip drilled into us for easy painting. When I want to put it down, my big polystyrene block that I've got another paper clip here, so I can just kind of put him down. Right, so what I'm going to need here, I'm going to need some bits of paper because I'm going to be spraying vile stuff everywhere. So this is for in a bit. I'm just going to increase the brightness on my screen because it's a bit dull here. I was doing some work on it yesterday and I forgot to change my settings. There we go. Now I can see so much more. First things first though, got to get this icon on there a little bit flatter. If you've ever had to do Space Marine icons with water transfers, the notorious shape of the shoulder pad makes it very difficult to get essentially a two-dimensionally flat sheet to kind of take the curve without creasing. Microsol, not going to tip it out because the lid is off, and Microset are a pair of really good products from Microscale Industries. You can get this on eBay, anywhere online. Most model shops will sell it. They're really good products for helping this. There are other products as well in their range. I use these two. Gloss the area that you're going to put your water transfer on. I didn't today, didn't have time. Just so it has a smoother, flatter surface to go onto. And then put your water transfer slide on, let it dry as it would, and then slap some of this stuff on, being very gentle, not to over agitate the decal itself. What we're doing, this particular chemical, Sol, I believe it's supposed to be like solvent or solution, solvent I think, basically melts the plastic sheet, if it is plastic, vinyl, whatever it is, and allows it to conform to irregular surfaces much better than it normally would. Now on Space Marine shoulder pads it's still very difficult, and I've never ever been able to get one perfect, which is why in my mind it's a really good idea to go to Pop Goes the Monkey, because they're really good alternatives because they're designed to cover over that shape. It's got a couple of creases here, one here and one here, and it's got another one here and one here, because you try wrapping a sphere with a sheet, you always have creases. If you've ever done this before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm just kind of saturating it in that for a minute. I'm going to wash my brush out, obviously. It's a horrible chemical. It's not a horrible chemical. You certainly don't want to get it in your eyes or in your mouth. But I certainly don't like to leave it in the bristles of my expensive brushes. I'm just going to sort of let that dry a little bit. Now, Microset is something that it does soften the decal a little bit, but it's more for improving the adhesion and kind of solidifies the whole thing as well. It is the combination of these two. I don't like to mix them, even though this is still a little bit wet from the other product. The combination of these two work really, really well together. And it's just about being patient and steady. Now, I'm not overly worried about it today because this model is just a test. That's fine. But, you know, I wanted to get the icons on it because I wanted to see how they show up through the style, the technique that we're going to be painting today. So what I'm going to do now is I've applied a little bit of set. I might get a little bit more on there, kind of not over saturating the area, but I am being quite heavy with how much I put on. Now, when Microscale Industries made this stuff, they probably didn't have in mind Space Marine shoulder pads. It is for other things, flat areas they work on perfectly. You can't even tell that they've gone on, and they're really good for doing things like Zimmerit on German World War II tanks. You wouldn't even tell that most of your transfers are transfers. It really does give you a painted on look. But again, patience, patience. Now I could sit here all night and do that and eventually would work it completely flat, but it's not, you know, that's not what we're here about today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry it by just dabbing it ever so slightly with a paper towel, and then I'm going to press it flat with something hard just to kind of iron out the objects very crudely, and then with a little bit of paint or even varnish over the top, we'll set it all in. Right, comment going in. Leslie says, I am painting the last little bits to my Battletech board, then as soon as it's all dry, I'll be making the next one. Cool, I've been watching your battle boards on Facebook. They're looking really, really impressive. You seem to have got a recipe that you're happy with working with, and that's ideal. That's what you want. Well done. Can't wait to see the next one. Can't wait to see them all like put together. Right, so there's paper towel. I'm using my fingertip just through it, just to kind of press it flat, and then most of those little lumps and bumps are actually gone now, and with a little bit of varnish over the top would seal it all down. And you can use gloss varnish. You could brush it on, layer it, layer it, layer it, And what it does, because gloss, the way that gloss works is by self-leveling. That gives you the super shiny effect. Matte, it doesn't do it as so much, so it deflects light much differently. And by basically creating a little shell over the top, you improve how smooth this artifact sits. That is pretty good for tonight. I will give it a quick varnish just because I want it protected from the quite vicious processes that we're going to go through today. So before we get started, some gloss varnish. Here we go. I'm going to brush it on because it applies thicker. The airbrush makes it so thin, it gives you a very neat coverage. Of course, I want quite a thick application. And then we can get started with the actual process proper. I'm very excited about this. I don't know if you can tell that the tone has changed dramatically on the show. I am aware also that I'm a little bit out of shot here, so I'm just going to bring the frame down a bit more because I think it'll be a bit better. Where are we? Here, probably. Let's do that. Okay, a bit of gloss on the end of here. And then of course I'll matte over the top of it to hide the glossy effect, because I don't want like one glossy shoulder pad. That'll just look silly. Maybe it won't. So you can see that I'm applying it quite heavy, and I'll just get the hairdryer out in just a moment, just to assist with that. I'm making sure that I cover the whole surface, because as it starts to self-level, it will just hide around the outside edges, the lips, if you like, of the actual transfer. And that's really all I'm going to go for today. Doesn't need anything more than that. Make sure I haven't got a little air bubble in there. That isn't an air bubble. That is actually a piece of the folded edge. Just push that down with this paper clip. Why not? Cool. He can sit to the side. So let me dry my brush. Should probably get a bit of matte varnish on there before I go too far. So the actual process then. What we are going to need is this magical item here, Streaking Grime from AK Interactive. This is starting to take the hobby world and the 40k world by storm. It's an enamel product. It has a silt-based pigment in there. It needs a lot of shaking. It dries quite slowly, so having a hairdryer to sort of agitate it, or not agitate it, but speed that, accelerate is the word I'm looking for. Accelerate the drying process much faster. If you're using it in small amounts, which normally we do, it dries quite quickly. But we're going to be saturating the area with this stuff today. That is the whole point. So we want to kind of accelerate that drying process. I'm going to be putting it through the air gun. That's the first step for me, putting something other than acrylics through the air gun. So I'm a little bit nervous about that, but we need to make sure that we clean up everything that this touches with white spirit. So I've got some white spirit here, also from AK Interactive, because it's the only thing that breaks it down. Even isopropyl alcohol won't really touch this stuff. So we spray this on liberally, cover the entire miniature so we can almost not tell what colours we used on there. We let it dry, and then we started to irritate it, or remove it essentially, with cotton dabby bits with white spirit on them, and then we essentially remove back down to the painted layers. So I need to make sure that this is well shaken. I'm going to shake, shake, shake. I'm just going to leave you staring at my painted worktop. I'm a little bit concerned. I've got some other models here on the bench that are painted, and I don't want to get any overspray of the stuff on there. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to move it all over here. Don't want any overspray at all. There we go. Knock all my lights around. Wonderful. Come on, over there. Let's get rid of the pop goes the monkey stuff. Excellent. Now it doesn't really matter so much. So, spray, spray, spray. Shake, shake, shake. That's what I meant to say. I'm so excited. I don't even want talking about it anymore. Leslie says, thanks for that, man. Really kind of you to say. Can't wait to see what this marine looks like by the end of the show. Yeah, me too. What I'm really impressed with is how fast I got to the stage with this thing that I have done. You know me, not been able to finish anything on the show. ever. I finished a few things, a couple of tyrannies or whatever. I always have to bump from one project to the next. Is how I go. But this guy is pretty good as he is. If I had like a squad of these guys just looking like that, I'd be pretty chuffed with him. But the idea is that we don't do much to it. We block in the colors that we want to have, and then this product does all the work for you. It's very important to make sure that you understand saturation, desaturated palettes. So we're not using massively vibrant colors like I do on my tyrannies, all those really garish yellows and pinks and things. Very desaturated palette. And then it's all about like really high contrast, so going right from the darkest depths colors that we can use, going right up to the brightest colors for the highlights. It will automatically highlight itself as we tackle this project, and then we can just kind of neaten it up afterwards just by kind of bringing it, like whites for example will dull right off, and then you can bring them right out by applying white over the top later to kind of make those contrasts really stark. So there's very little in the mid-tones. We can also go into the world of color shading as well, about using color temperatures. That's not something I'm necessarily going to get started onto tonight, but if you watch the Grimdark Compendium, color shading is something that he's quite big on. He actually has a whole part of one of his shows dedicated to the discussion of pre-shading and color shading, and he uses Carabao Crimson and Celia Blue or Celia Green, both from Games Workshop. They're both shades. He waters them right down, and it's just very, very minimal amounts, and it just kind of adds this color temperature variation over the model, and that lends to the effect of the contrast, the contrast and the streaking grime. It's very effective, and he uses the same thing, brushes and cotton buds, with alcohol, 99% alcohol. Because alcohol affects the acrylic, and the white spirit will affect the enamel. They don't really necessarily affect each other. The alcohol will affect other stuff, but you have to be a little bit harsher with it. It is very possible that with alcohol that you can actually go right through your acrylic layers, right down to the bare plastic with very little effort. So we have to be very, very gentle in this whole process. And yeah, I'm going to put a little bit of varnish over the whole guy just to help protect, because that's kind of what it does, it seals it in. Now, having a really good shake, I can see that it's starting to be a bit better mixed in there now, and I'm going to use a little pipette dropper, because I've got a few of these lying around, and to actually apply drops of this into the airbrush. Do, however, still have blob of gloss varnish on here, so I'm actually going to attack it with the hairdryer. I'm just going to lift my microphone to mute me so that you can't hear the harshness of the sound. There we go. Because I put it on so heavy, it took quite a while to get through that. It's not the best application of a water slide transfer, but for the purposes of this show, it's more than enough. I'm quite happy with it. It's warmed up the room, lovely. Okay, so I can put my other little bits and pieces to the side. I'm going to give them a quick flash with matte varnish. What have I done with it? Here it is, matte varnish. Although I could gloss it, because it would help with the application of the enamel, because that's normally what you do, but I'm not going to do it because it doesn't say so in the video. So it actually might help the grittiness by not having a smooth surface. So just going to put a couple of drops of this into the airbrush here. 1, 2, oh, 3 by accident. Okay, cool, whatevs. Oh, my lid's not going on properly. Come on. There we go. Bashing everything. I decided to soak my airbrush in isopropyl alcohol and then put it in the sonic bath. The amount of gunk that was coming out of the airbrush was unreal. I'm actually not getting a very good flow right now. So I've been just cleaning the airbrush all week whenever I've had the opportunity. And the advice of Darren the Venomist was say, hey, yeah, soak it in alcohol. So I did. Yeah. it's gross. I'm still getting stuff coming out of it all the time. It's actually struggling to get a good flow on here now. Might have to give it a quick rinse through in a minute. Let me just turn the pressure up a bit, perhaps. There we go. Now also on this Marine, the leather parts, so he's got a sword scabbard and some pouches here, and he's also got some pouches on this side. I was playing around with different colours, not really knowing what sort of colours would best achieve leather. All of the imagery out there I can find for like inspiration, they use very flat light browns, but I also had a leather colour, which I'm not sure if I really like, so I've got on one side this leathery colour, and on the other side I've got a flat brown, which I think I'm gonna prefer, but I thought on this test it's a great opportunity to see what it comes out like. I seem to be spraying a little bit more efficiently now, so I think whatever that blockage was has gone. I'll give it a quick clean out just before the show started, and there was a little bit of grit coming out, a bit of old paint flakes and stuff, so it might be that that's just kind of passed by now. You can see the effect that the creases have had in the transfer. If I spent a lot more time doing this, it wouldn't have done that. Okay, cool. Right, let's pop him down over here, and let's just flush this through. I've actually alcoholed out my container. It's all looking brand new. Alcohol is an amazing substance for cleaning. Right, a 50-50 water cleaner mix in the airbrush just to get that matte varnish out, because matte varnish is a type of resin and it goes solid really quickly. Don't want it in there. I've got a couple of little old mince pie trays left over from last Christmas that I'm going to be using for cleaning white oil, for putting white spirit in. And I'm going to put a little bit of water through because it's gone all sudsy in there. Bear with me. So, just before the show went live, every week I always give Kyle a quick message. Haven't heard from him for a while, obviously. Kyle, my co-host. Just to see how he's getting on, just to kind of invite him to the show. But I know that he's been working really hard, and things with the pandemic were very difficult for him, and he had to go to university whilst being at home, and it was all very difficult. So I always give him a message or try to give him a call, with often no prevail, which is fine. But just today I got a message back from him saying he feels absolutely mortified that he hasn't been on the show, that he hasn't been in contact. He feels he's the worst friend ever, which is absolutely not true at all. Kyle's a lovely guy, and he's just obviously got a life to live. So hopefully having a phone call with him tomorrow, just kind of catch up with him, and hopefully get him back on the show. He's actually out with friends who he hasn't normally seen or hasn't seen for ages. So yeah, it's just catching up on life. So that's Kyle. It'll be really nice, hopefully, to get Kyle back on the show, especially moving into winter very soon. Yeah, it'd be great, wouldn't it? Kyle, if you are watching this on your phone out with your friends, hello. Just a little bit of grime just on the edge of that needle. I'm just gonna take the opportunity to use one of these little cotton buds, which I don't normally use. Just gonna clean the nib off there. There we go. Hopefully going to get some really nice spray quality today. So just give him a little bit of flash of air, just air, just to help that matte varnish dry. There we go, we're good to go, right? So a quick sip of tea. Yum yum. It's actually quite a bitter tea. So streaking grime. Just going to give it another quick shake here. Jeff says, is your Raptor guy one of the larger 40k figures? Yes, he is. He was the free one that you got and you gave to me in that little box. Remember? He's got a couple of bits left over. They're like little anti-gravity things that's supposed to go in his backpack. I didn't really like them very much, and they kind of just got in the way, and I just thought I wouldn't put them on there. They're supposed to stick off the side of these ball bits. I would probably put them on somewhere else to make them look, I don't know, better. Something that was unfamiliar for me, so I decided not to put them on. Oh, that grunting was opening the pot. So, oh, it smells delightful. I've got another pipette here somewhere for dealing with white spirit. It's right on it. Terps. Terps is an old-fashioned form of white spirit. It's not actually white spirit. It's very aggressive. Here is a little tray for white spirit in a minute, but we're not going to get there just yet. Right. I'm very nervous about putting this in my airbrush, but if Grimdark Compendium did it, I can do it too. Probably quite a bit more than what I need there. Right. Making a bit of a pig's ear of this, but here we go. So I'm just going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you know, I'm just going to put in like maybe a dozen drops or something like that, roughly. It's very, very thin in comparison to like regular paints, so it's very wash-like. Pop that there. Well, wish me luck. Jeff says, yeah. So, I can't remember if Grimdark Compendium had his air pressure up really low or really high. To say it was one or the other, I can't remember. Mine's on fairly high. I'm on 30 psi. So it's fairly sort of just higher of middle road for me. I'm now just going to coat the whole thing. I'm quite nervous about this, but let's just have some fun, shall we? This is so exciting. It might be that I don't need to use the hairdryer very much, because applying it through the I keep on forgetting my words today, but applying it through the air gun, the airbrush, because it goes on such a thin layer, it's much easier for it to dry. As well, just a minute ago you could see me using the hairdryer to dry that blob of brushed on gloss varnish, but when I did the matte varnish through the air gun, it was well, it dried in seconds. So I can see that's actually going. There's kind of a matte sheen to this, which is telling me that it's actually quite dry. Look at the effect already. It's quite interesting, isn't it? little bit underneath there. One thing is for sure, probably should have worn a mask while spraying this stuff, because going through the airbrush it is quite a pungent smell. So that is a mistake that I won't make in the future. I'll probably just wear like my little COVID mask just to assist. So if you do plan on doing this, consider a mask. My room is large enough that it's not necessarily a problem when I'm spraying things or using harsh chemicals, and it can be well ventilated. And so normally I don't have to worry about things like that, but this is quite strong, so yeah, in the future I will bear that in mind. Cool. And he's done. Or is he? No. So just make sure that he is dry. And he's got a good covering all over. Now I don't know why, I think I want to go a little bit heavier on the underside just to assist with the whole pre-shading thing. I don't know why I'm doing that, I'm just going to give it a go. It's a nice colour for sure. Have we got anything left in there? Quite a bit. And that's the end of it. So, alright, I've got the amount quite right, didn't I? Just dry that out. Now I'm going to have to put some white spirit through here to kind of clean that out. So, while I'm waiting for that to dry, which isn't too far away, I'm going to pop a little plug in there. Oh, and I'll just stick him in the polystyrene for a minute. In my little pre-marked hole. So, some spirits. I do need to get some more white spirit, but there's enough for tonight. You can see I've accidentally cleaned a brush off in this bottle before, never mind. Right, I'm going to use a brush that I don't really care about that much. My mixing brush, just to kind of help agitate any enamel particles left inside the hopper and the paint chamber in there. And the thing with white spirit and this enamel paint is that no matter how long it's been sat there, white spirit will always reactivate it. So it means that you can kind of let this miniature dry and come back to it. And you'll always be able to do the work to it. Also means that as long as I clean the white spirit out of here, I don't know what effect the white spirit will have on some of the seals in it, but the white spirit, any paint that's left in here, the white spirit will clean quite nicely. Sorry, the enamel will clean quite nicely. Right. Let's pop him in here. Flush that through. I'm going to put a lot of water through this just to make sure that white spirit is completely cleaned through, and then later on I'm just going to clean the airbrush right out. So talk amongst yourselves while I just push this water through. Of course I did actually mean talk amongst yourselves. I'm not expecting you to do that. You can sit here and talk to me as well if you like. There is a part of me that wished I had time to do the colour shading. It's been a bit of a mental week. Where I work, we would normally at this stage now be looking at kind of calming down before the season ends, and then we move into our winter, which is just a different thing altogether. But I work at a residential activity centre, and at last minute we just had a load of like last minute bookings. Just as our staff have finished their seasonal contracts and we've kept on enough just to keep us going, we are now at a point where we don't have enough staff because we've got all these extra bookings. That's quite unusual, but I think it's a sign of the post-COVID world, which is fine. It just means that a lot of us have to push extra time, and work has been quite manic. So with that all kind of going on, and my injury, which is just such a silly injury, I slept on my shoulder funny, and it's just you adapt to it with bad posture, just making it worse and worse and worse. So yeah, like sitting here now, I'm in quite a bit of pain. If it's not my shoulders or my neck or my shoulder blades, which is where the injury is, aching, then everything else is hurting instead. So like my mid back in a band all the way around, it's very uncomfortable. I've got a chiropractor appointment. Could have had one today halfway through the afternoon, but I didn't want to miss out on tanks. Okay, I think what I'll do is I'll just put a little 50-50 cleaner through. I don't know if that will have any effect on the white spirit, but I think it might be worth it just to help. So here we go. Also, I was practicing doing some bases for my Skitari. This is that little practice base I did a couple of weeks ago. Some interesting things. I've managed to get this very, very good ochre style Martian red-orange colour with really good effects by simply dry brushing it all with terracotta. So the terracotta colour is this, and I thought, oh, that's quite similar to what I want. It's quite a reddy orangey colour with browns in it as well. Give it a go, and it just worked so well. I used the airbrush to put some Agrax Earthshade over the cracked areas, just to kind of lend a bit of definition in there, and I thought, I think that's my recipe. I've got all these pigments which I'll use in future projects perhaps, but I don't necessarily need to use them on the basis. Maybe for doing dust and things like that I will, but I could just use the terracotta to dry brush that. Interestingly, when I used the Vallejo crackle paint, I put it on quite thin just by itself up here, and a little air bubble appeared and it popped, and then I dry brushed it and it looks like a pockmark, almost like a crater, but it's got little cracks coming off of it. It looks like a little shell impact. I wonder, because it's also clear, if you applied it to things like cockpits or windscreens or glass, you might actually be able to get effects where if you left the surface behind it, where like bulletproof glass has had an effect but been shattered and cracked, or once you've achieved this little air bubble here, you could actually drill right through to look like a bullet's gone right through it. Interesting. A lot of potential there for something so similar. So simple. Huh, cool. Jeff has put on, message retracted. I was about to read it out, but message. If you want to read that, of course, you should just be able to go back in time. Oh, I'm not going to. You've retracted it for a reason. Right. So the airbrush is done. I'm just gonna wash the brush with water here. Because it's got white spirit in it now. And there we go. I've got a horrible little jar with dish soap solution and water. I like it to separate the water and the white spirit, and then I wash it off with my water. I don't know if it helps at all. It's an ongoing experiment. So there we go. If you leave white spirit on your brush will be ruined. Don't do it. Okay, so I will get rid of these. These here. I will get a little bit of white spirit in my little container. Oh no. Lucky the lid was on. I dropped it. Jeff says, talk about how I cooked your Tommies. Okay. So, played What a Tanker earlier on with my dad. That's Jeff, if you didn't know, or if you're new here. It's a brilliant game. It is a very simple game, but it is designed to represent very efficiently, in my mind, the stresses of combat. And we played two games. The first one, just kind of teaching my dad how to play. We used just one tank each. I used a Panzer IV, and he used a Sherman, 76mm. And I won, but just. And then we played a second round where I took two Sherman 76s, and against his Panther G. And the first game I won, the second game he won. That's all I need to say, right? We sat on top of a hillock each, whilst we had shot the living daylights out of each other. I landed 8 successive one after the other shots on him. We were so badly damaged that we couldn't actually move. Or we kind of move or shoot or whatever. And eventually, he blew my little Shermans up. But it went on, longest fight sequence ever. Anyway, I'm just going to hit this guy with the hairdryer just to assist the drying process. And it looks pretty well done, but just a little bit extra, so bear with me. There we go. I think that's as dry as we're going to get it. It's not necessary for it to be totally dry because we are now going to start ruining it. Leslie says, that base looks cool. I just finished the board, so waiting for it to dry before I can start work on the next one. Excellent. Exciting times. Now, let's get on with this bad boy. So, Grimdark Compendium says, saturate your cotton bud. Saturated. Consider it done. So, don't really know where to start. I'm just going to start picking out some details. I'm going to be very, very gentle. So I'm literally just dabbing this on, and already I can see it starting to retrieve the colour underneath. Okay. I don't really know what I'm doing here. I suppose that this takes practice, and I'm just going to be getting white spirit regularly saturated on here. I work my way down the gun, down the arm, and I suppose I am trying to affect areas lit. So I'm going to see if I can achieve a sort of a zenithal lighting effect. So, Leslie says, and he's looking cool. Thanks very much. I've got a long way to go yet, but hey, we'll see what happens. The game of Water Tanker was actually some of the longest games I've played in a long time. I play them with my housemate regularly, who is a real Sheldon Cooper in terms of his ability to remember things. So like rule books and things like that are something that he could just remember offhand. Try not to rely on it too much, because first of all it's quite annoying and rude for him, I suppose, but it's you know, it's nice to be able to remember things yourself. But when you just remember things, it's very hard to not just call it up. So when we're playing games, he's able to just be like, oh yeah, well we now do this, and we now do this. I'm like, you want to roll this number? I'll roll this number, and it's just the way we've played, and we've known each other for nearly 30 years, so it's just the way we do it. So going to play with my dad today was an opportunity for me to remember and actually recall the rules. It took a long time to get through them, but the game was still swift and punchy. We were just very tactical, I think, today. It was difficult. So, yeah, I don't really know what I'm trying to do here. Just, like I say, just working my way through the model. I'm not like going to work on one bit until it's perfected. I'm just going to keep on working the whole model layer by layer if necessary, and I can always come back and put more on it. That's the wonderful thing about this, is I don't have to. If this area isn't finished, I can always come back to it. But what I'm going to do is just kind of do little bits at a time. Do it like layer at a time, if you like, and then I can always come back and do some more later. If I want to like go, oh, okay, cool, actually this little bit needs a bit more attention, or I need to, you know, put a bit more colour back onto it, then I can. I used a colour on the green as well that I wouldn't necessarily normally use. I would normally use quite an olive green, because I think it's the colour that you should use for the raptors. They are, after all, you know, sensible marines, like I think they're often called, because they use colours that are just normal camouflage, which is olive. Games Workshop colours that you would use for that would be Elysian green. I think they've changed the name of that colour now. It's called something else, I think. It's a very nice colour. There is a Vallejo version of it. I don't have it for the airbrush, so I used Goblin Green. I think I have it right here. Here it is, Goblin Green. It looked quite olivey in the opaqueness of the bottle. Actually, when it comes out, it's a little bit brighter than that. But I thought I'd use it anyway, just to see how the streaking grind colour filters it. So, you know, it might actually do quite a bit for it. That's what we're here to find out, right? Now, I don't have to use this dabber all the way. I could just use a brush if I wanted to, and in some areas I might choose to. Just gonna keep on working. There's no real rhyme or reason to what I'm doing. I'm just removing the colour. I'm trying to remove less from the underside areas, but I'm not really being very strict with it. That's just something in the far reaches of my mind. There's quite a blob area going on up here, which I'm trying to affect. This icon here on this shoulder isn't going so well, so I might like neaten that up later on with a brush. I can always, of course, come in and paint it on using the actual icon itself as a guide. It's actually not very easy. I expected it, based off of what I witnessed, I expected it to be an easier process, but it's it's not that simple. Quite like the way that the brown's affected there, pushing through that top layer of grime, revealing some softer, lighter browns underneath. I'm quite liking this Goblin Green because I'm getting some nice contrasts, nice stark contrasts coming through. I'm not sure if I prefer this brown. I think I prefer this brown over here, but it is very early days yet. Because this substance is running into all the recesses, it is doing all the hard work of shading for me. So that's one of the reasons why we haven't shaded or done any highlights or anything like that. It will highlight itself, it will shade itself. That's exactly what we're doing. Even on the skin here, you can see that it's shading. And if I remove too much, I can always come back in. I can either apply it by the airbrush or I can apply it by hand if I want to. Cool, huh? So I think what I'm going to try and do, judging by the shoulder pad here and the chest area, is that where it started to wear through, and I'm kind of getting these areas clear with the colour, so I'm just going to try and neaten those areas up, leaving the affected areas around it. That should give me like a sepia vignette. Is a vignette, is that the right word? Is that what I'm looking for? Regardless, I think it is a vignette. dropped a little bit on the paper there. That's why it's there. This is quite a, not a slow process, it's quite a painstaking process. And I should imagine, and like actually it says on the Grimdark Compendium videos, this process is improved with practice, despite it actually being a very rudimentary process of, you know, putting a whole layer on, removing it sporadically with white spirit on a dabby cotton bud. Is there's still a technique that you acquire with it, and you start to identify where these areas that you want to enhance are, and then how you actually apply the spirit kind of gives you an effect. And after a while you kind of build it up, and I see what he means. As I'm kind of going through, I'm seeing these little areas of colour. I'm like, right, I'm going to kind of dab and wipe, but I'm not wiping very hard. I don't want to like damage the paint layer. Not that the white spirit will do that, just obviously the friction of the tool that I'm using will do it. And if I was doing colour shading with alcohol, then even the slightest, you know, if I was to be too rough with it, even just the slightest bit, it will take the colour away totally, right down to the bare plastic if I'm not careful, right through the primer. So yeah, loving this process already. It's going to take some time just to kind of get there. I'm getting some sort of aesthetics that I like. I'm getting some results. I'm going to try coming in with a brush in certain areas in a bit as well and see what that does. Oh, starting to splash white spirit around everywhere. Might change the nib over in a minute, go to the other side. It's getting quite clogged up here. But like Kyle said, you know, a little while ago, often the best results are achieved with a minimum of effort. Sometimes it's quite interesting, you know, what you can do with so little effort. He was speaking, of course, at the time about his dry brushing, and I'm inclined to agree, you know. I wonder if it would, how different it would look if I used olive green colours. Now I have actually painted an old librarian. It's the old school style librarian, but one of the newer casts. I painted him in olive green from the Sherman Tank colour range. It looks really good, but it was a little too Sherman Tank, so I think that I would try and change my colour, probably to the Elysian green. I really like those colours, and I really like this goblin green coming through, but I think I prefer what I'm used to. So if I was to do more of these, I would probably return to that Elysian green colour. This, however, is coming on really, really well. There are lots of other things that I can do to it. I can put, you know, I can drop in other, you know, more areas in high detail, like in a normal way of using this paint, this enamel. I could like just do some like pin lining if I wanted to. You know, I could recoat an entire area. I could use different colours. Really like this area here. It's come out really well on that leather. Really quite into that. Might have actually removed a little bit too much. See if I can put a little bit back in there. It's a little bit in the the tip of this cotton bud. Some interesting effects. I wonder if I've gone a little bit too heavy with the old white spirit. Wonder if I've yet to really develop a technique. I'm going to let him dry a little bit over the intermission, which we are pretty much. Jeff says, I'm liking that. Kessin says, Dan, how would you apply the paint if you do not have an air gun or do not know what you're doing? Or to do what you're doing, just apply it, slap it all over with a brush. I'd go on thin, but cover the whole area. Let it dry. You could dry it with an hairbrush again. I do all my normal. It's the first time I've ever used this with the. I keep forgetting what it's called. The airbrush. I keep calling it the air gun. But the air blowy thing. You could, just do it by brush. That's how I normally do it. I'm gonna back over all these comments here. Let's just get back to the intermission screen. Where's it? Here we go. And I'll read these things out here. So, Keston says, I have been learning a new technique, just waiting for some paints to arrive before I can try it out. Cool. I'm looking forward to hearing about those paints. Is it just new paints that you got coming, or is it actually like typical, like special technical stuff? Leslie says, dude, that's stunning. Well done, man. Thanks. I think I've got a long way to go yet, but well, we'll get there. We'll see what happens. Definitely has a very dark vibe and grim dark vibe. Yeah, obviously that's what I'm going for. At the moment, it looks quite just dirty. I'm hoping that I can get sort of contrast effects in there. Yeah, well, we'll see. Jeff says, I'm liking that. And Kes says, thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Anyway, we're at that point where we disappear for just 10 minutes to go and stretch our legs, refocus our eyes, go to the bathroom or grab a fresh drink. I've got my tea on the go there, but I'm actually inclined to go and get myself a beer. I see how I feel. I do like to have a drink in the second half. Anyway, you should definitely go and change your paint water if you haven't already done that. Just go and do it, alright? See you back in 10. Bye. And I'm back. I was just wondering where the music cues were at. The music's actually working this week. Last week it wasn't working at all, and then as soon as I turned the live show off and then went back in and did a test, the music all started working again. So every now and again I get a little bit concerned about where the music cues are at. Like, does the music normally start here? No, it's working fine. Went and got a beer, couldn't resist myself. So happy Friday, happy 1st of October. Cheers. I've been looking forward to that. Okay, so while I was gone, I didn't change my paint water, I've only got white in it. But I have hit the hairdryer with this guy. It's made it so much better than what it was looking like just before I disappeared. There's still some work to do. I think it could be darker, so I might put some extra layers on. That's fine, that's cool. I can play around with this all I like. And then, although on the Grimdark Compendium it says don't seal it all in with varnish, I like to seal everything in with varnish because that's how I roll. So once I'm happy with what I've got here, I can seal it all in. Excuse me, that is repeating on me. I can seal it all in, and then I could do like another layer over the top and have like multiple layers all working through, so that when I'm using the cotton bud technique, it's not going to affect underneath, if that makes sense. Cool. Let me take you to the workbench now so that you can see this guy in all his glory. Here we go. Look at that. So that the air dryer has obviously taken all of the glossy sheen out of the wet paint on there, and has left me with this really matte, grim, dark feel. I've got a lot of practice that will help me improve the appearance, but generally really happy with that, and I think that I could probably enhance the whole look by using that olive green that I was talking about. There's a few details and things on here that I'm going to go over again right now, mostly around the face. I'm going to enhance the chest bits there where that colour showing through. I think I'm going to play around a little bit on the top of the backpack up here and on the shoulder pad, or both shoulder pads really. The knee got a little bit of tide mark there, so I'll try and remove that. Yeah, just trying to bring it up a little bit, brighten it up. I think I quite like the leather on this side, which I thought I was going to, over the leather on this side, because this is more washed out, and this is what he was talking about on that video, where having really washed out palettes, really desaturated colours. So yeah, I'm into this. It's really good. I'm going to try and neaten up some of his head. It's actually shaded. His head has added a filter on there, but it's quite untidy, and his mask is actually supposed to be white. So what I'm going to do, you can see that it's kind of gathered in the bottom down there, in the chin area, so I'm going to try and enhance all of that, and then I'm still quite like, if I use this area here for example, the raptor symbol is actually kind of browny kind of colour. It's almost, it's very sepia all over. It's got a big blob on there, but I'm going to leave that, and then I'm going to dry brush white over the top to bring it out. I might actually make it even darker, so that when I put the dry brushing over it, it kind of stands out electrically. That's not even the right term I was trying to use. It just sounded right when I said it. Electrically. Leslie says, that's awesome. Loving it. Thanks, man. Gonna go away from this used side, move over to the clean side. And yeah, saturate the thingy in stuff. There you go, Luke. There's one for Discord. Thingy and stuff. Yeah, I'm just gonna give it a bit of a clean up. I don't think I'm actually going to clean up this shoulder pad that much, because I quite like how that's turned out. When I hit the hairdryer on this, it looked 10 times better than what I thought it was going to look like. I'm going to just try and clean up the wrapped in the beak there, I suppose, and just dabbing into there. I think that's better. Might have to get a brush in under that bit, under this kind of backpack nozzle, if you want to call it that. And then I might come in with another layer, another coating of this streaking grime. I don't know. That's looking quite good there, isn't it? Again, just across the top of here, and I'm just touching it. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not Not really wiping or anything, just tapping. And through a capillary action, the white spirit just kind of runs into all the areas, and it picks up the surface colour and then runs away with it, leaving exposed areas on flat surfaces and then taking it to recesses, which is exactly what it's designed for. A little bit of wiping here and there, just to bring out some panels. And yeah, be patient with it if you're giving it a try. It looks better once it's dried, so definitely have a hairdryer to hand. Glad I asked to borrow that today. I have seen a nice little cheap one in a local second-hand shop, so I think I might pop in and go and grab that. Because I don't want to be using my partners all the time, because there is every chance I could end up getting paint and lot of products all over it. And though she says that's absolutely fine, it's very nice of her, bless her, but I don't want to be ruining people's stuff just for my craft, my hobby. Have your own stuff, right? I like it when it goes onto the metal colours. It makes that burnished kind of steel effect. I like that. And then watching the videos that I've been learning from, where it's kind of just dry brushing the metal back afterwards, makes it look really edgy, really gritty contrast colours that he's got going. And I know it's a practice thing, and I know this is actually looking all right, but his was so much better, and it's I'm actually very jealous of what he's able to do and what he's learned. But hopefully this is the first of many projects where I start to improve and hone this technique. Here we go. So I might get a brush in here now. I've got some cheap but new brushes given to me by my dad. Thanks, Jeff. If I can get the little protective cap off it, which I can't. Oh man, that does not want to come off. There we go. And I'll use this synthetic edge here. Just in my spirit. I don't really want to put it onto my nice expensive ones. And I'm just gonna saturate the bristles, and there's just an area up in here that I just kind of want it to get on, just agitate some of the tide marks. And again, just here on this fleshy colour, I just want to kind of expose wide flat areas or undetailed areas, enhancing the contrast from the outer edges. Again, I'm making all of this kind of up as I go, but it seems to be working. Hopefully I'm in shot. I am in shot. Okay, cool. That's the head there is a kind of a focal point, isn't it? Because he hasn't got any armor on it. It's quite bare. So it's an area that I'm quite keen to stand out and look good. I'll just get a little bit in here, just enhance that white. Oh, there we go. Looking good. It's looking really good. Again, just up in there. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I think it's coming on really well. I'm glad I've experimented with these browns. I do quite like this brown on the scabbard, the way it's affected it here, but I really also like it here as well. And I think out of the two, I definitely do prefer this one. Come out really well, really into it, really like it. I've been really excited to try this for ages, and I'm really enjoying the whole process. I might be removing a bit too much here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him a quick go with a hairdryer. Bear with me. It's looking absolutely fabulous. As soon as it dries, it really mats down and it blends really, really well. There are some areas that are looking quite untidy. I can go back in. I'm quite interested actually to see what happens if I just give him another gentle pass without even putting a coat of varnish over him. I wonder what happens if this is like a dry thing underneath, put a wet layer on top, not necessarily dry it so much, and just see if it kind of, do you know what I mean? Just gonna see if it does anything. Or if it's just, I don't know, not gonna. Some comments going in. Leslie says it's awesome, he's loving it. Jeff says I think a lot of it is knowing what base colours work best, but I do like it, it's very nice. Thanks very much. It's very, very simple. You're right, base colours are everything here. I could use the modulation set of paints from the olive war colours, and I could use like the washed out colours in there, which I will use less of, so it might be a good use of it. So there's things to play around with, experiment with there. I really like this. I think this is really good. I'm going to give it another pass just with a little bit, just with the airbrush, I think. So I'm just going to hit this with the hairdryer just one more time. Just there's a couple of spots in here which are still damp, so bear with me again. Looking really good. I'm absolutely loving it. Right, okay, a quick swig of the beer. I love golden ale. Probably drink a little bit too much of it, but I'm 40 in a couple of weeks, so who cares? Right, pop that over there, because I'm going to get the airbrush back in again. So let's not forget the white spirit that is in that brush tip. Wash it out. There we go. Okay, cool. I'm gonna need my pipette with streaking grime. I've also got rust streaks, so I can do some like enhanced colours with it later on. I also like the track wash colour that I've used in the past, which is quite black. It's a very weird product. I don't entirely understand how to use it, but I could use that to really kind of enhance some depth in certain areas if I wanted to. But I think what I'm going to do is finish this guy off today and watch some more videos from the Grimdark Compendium and just kind of re-examine the process and see where I should take it from here, or if I just kind of leave it. Okay, so I'm going to bring the airbrush over, make sure it's working still. Nothing has set in there. Okay, well, that's good. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that works for me. Lovely. Let's pop that there. Pop the airbrush over here. Okay. Let's give it another pass. I'm just going to give him a little bit of just fresh air. Just to get still anything wet on there. Why not? Okay. Here we go. I don't think I'm going to let this coat dry so much, just to see the difference. I could be ruining everything here and starting all over again, but the beauty with this colour is that I could just, with all of the layers that are on there, you just reactivate it all. I love the experiment process of anything hobby, like anything painting, which is probably why I never get anything finished. Okay. I didn't get my mask from upstairs because I didn't expect to be spraying again. Okay, I'm out of paint. Let me again, just bear with me one moment while I put some white spirit through there. I don't want it to settle in there at all. Apologies. Got a rubbish brush here, just cleaning inside the hopper. Inside the paint chamber. Okay, and just a quick purge. Here's some music while you wait. Is anybody here tonight watching this process inspired by this process? Is anybody thinking, yeah, I've got to have a go at that? Because inspiration is really what I want the show to be all about. I want people to kind of pick this video up and go, oh my god, gotta do that, gotta have a go. Maybe you got a load of old miniatures just sat around not being painted. Maybe you think this is the quick way, this is the way to do it. And of course you don't actually have to use streaking grime. You could you know, block all your colours in on your miniature just like I've done here. No worry about details or shading or highlighting or anything like that. Block all your colours in, doesn't take very long. And then of course you could just like varnish them down with a clear coat or whatever you want to do, nice and quickly. And then you could put Agrax Earthshade on, and you could just slap that on, hair dry it or let it dry naturally. And then you could use cotton buds with alcohol. Be very gentle, very gentle with it, but it will probably give you very similar effect. So yeah, give it a shot. After this, I might even put some Agrax Earthshade on it and do it in the same way, just to see. Right, I guess a couple of bits of water I've put through there, and again I'm just going to put 50-50 cleaner water in there, just because I'm nervous about leaving white spirit or enamels in the airbrush. I don't know why, it's just something I've not done before, so I'm nervous about it, okay? Second now, here it goes. Yeah, look at that. Wonderful. Right. Leslie put in a comment, hell yes, thinking of trying it with some Plague Marines, something to do in the future. When I say that, after the magical C word this year. Yeah, fair enough. Actually, if you go and watch the Grimdark Compendium, he actually does the demonstration on a Plague Marine, so you can see his whole colour palette being explored. Highly recommend. Right up your street, mate. Right. Don't know why I went very British there. So it's still slightly wet. It has dried quite quickly. There's quite a thin layer I put on there. But now, just going in, dabbing, letting it run away. There's a very gritty looking effect in the chest. I'm not actually in shot, so sorry. There's a very gritty effect in the chest area there that I'm really liking, and it might be that 2 layers is the golden recipe. I can't really remember on the videos if it recommends to do several layers or not. I just thought, why not? What I'm doing here, just to expose spot areas, like a perfect example I've done here is on the centre of this backpack here, is I've dolloped a load of it on there. It's taken the big, the main coating away, and then I did a little wipe on there to give like an extra focus, like a reflective spot there. Seems to have worked quite nicely. So there is sometimes a need for a little wipe. I'm trying to do it on like edges to kind of enhance edge highlights and things. And I'm doing it kind of in that zenithal fashion. Cheers, dude, for the suggestion. No worries, Leslie. Of course, don't abandon my show. Like, watch it afterwards. What are you thinking? I jest. You go watch what you want, man. Actually quite liking that whole dollop and dab and wipe. So I go in saturated, I go dollop, just a wipe just on the flat surface there, again on the back of this leg, I go dollop all the way around, and then a quick wipe. That's working really well for me there. Interesting how you pick up quick techniques, isn't it? It might not work at all, it might be forget that whole process. Again, focusing on the face and the head being quite an area of contrast. I have to come back in with the brush on that, that's fine. I can kind of move it around as well. It's not the easiest thing to move around because you're actually kind of removing it. But when you put the white spirit on, it kind of runs away, builds up a little reservoir of it somewhere, and then I can come back and sort of pick it up and replace it. It's not that easy, but it is something you can do. I think it's almost time for the hairdryer. Okay, do you know what? Let's do it. Bear with me again. Okay, do you know what? Definitely have a hairdryer for this. It's really expediting the whole process. Really do it. Yeah. I think a second cover is has done what I wanted to do. Now I can come back in with a brush and just kind of do some high details again. Really enjoying the whole process. Really good. Leslie says that I'm not going anywhere until the best show on earth is finished, buddy. Don't you worry. Thank you very much. You're inflating my ego. Cheers, pal. Back in with the beer. Sounds like a celebration point. Thanks, mate. Okay. Right, so I'll leave the little cotton bud. That is a tasty beer. In with the brush. So I just kind of drop in a little bit, and I'm just very, very soft. I actually be softer with the brush than I can be the cotton bud, but I think you can cover larger areas quite quickly with the cotton bud. So just saturate that area, and then just lightly agitate the colour there. There we go. And I'm just going to run it along the top of this collar here. I kind of want it to be, I wanted the edge highlight itself. Just had to double check that I'd left my microphone on. Okay, yep, cool. That little skull mask really just kind of enhanced it by wiping that over. Beautiful. And again, his head. Wonderful. It's looking really good. Really, really good. When it dries, the green kind of disappears now. So again, I'm just going to keep on agitating these same areas. I'm not trying to do the whole area. I'm actually just kind of just focusing on this little bit in the middle. Just bring that out. There we go. Nice. That's really good. I like that. That's really soft and subtle. It's beautiful. So I know there's a few sci-fi fans on here, obviously. Has anybody heard about the impending Babylon 5 reboot? OMG, I'm very excited by that. Used to love Babylon 5. I know it's received some stick over the years, especially from the likes of Big Bang Theory and whatnot. And if you watch it back, you're right, it's incredibly dated. But it took a different side, it took a different approach to sci-fi. It was very political. It had a lot of intrigue. Yeah, and it was probably quite realistic in its approach to story. And then of course it had the really cool shadow wars and things, which was very fantastical, and yeah, I loved it. But I loved all the conflicts that used to occur on the space station itself. Yeah, and it's rumor is that the original creator is coming back at it with a reboot. I hope that when it comes to things like how like the aliens looked and all the appearances, I hope that they do it the same, and that they don't do what they've done with recent Star Trek reboots where they change the appearance. That could ruin it. Don't fix it if it isn't broke. Keep going back over the same bits, because as they start drying, they're losing their colour, and I wonder if that's a problem that I've made by doing 2 coats. But I'm just being patient and just working my way through. The brush is definitely a technique that I'm enjoying. Realise I'm creeping my way out of shot again. I'm very sorry. What's this? Kirsten says, yes, I've heard about it. Leslie, what? Hell yeah, New Babylon 5. Spelt wrong, is it? Yes. When, where, how? I'll see if I can find the links that I found, and I'll share it on the Easy 8 Facebook page for you all to see. Maybe another reason for people to head on over to the Facebook page. I've not been very active on the Facebook page of late. I apologise for that. Obviously, I post up the videos when they, when I've made the schedules for them. Apologies for this week being late. It was down to my back and work, etc. I will get back around to being much more active online. So bear with me. It's just work is I'm hoping it's going to stop winding down soon, and when the winter comes back in, I'll be on a winter maintenance contract. So rather than actually running a residential activity centre for children, I'll be decorating out there. Potentially long days, but on a 4-day week is what we ran the last time, just before the pandemic hit, and I hope to do that again. And it will leave me with more days to do stuff at home, spend time with my partner, go out and do activity stuff, that I enjoy, and then also have like a whole day in, or just without the general stresses of busy work. I've not been very active on Instagram at all, and that's something I definitely want to get back on top of. So yeah, Facebook, Instagram will be as lively as they used to be, coming very soon. Instagram, I just like to put stuff up there that's finished. It's not all my stuff on there is finished, obviously, but I like to use it as a display for finished stuff. So having not finished stuff recently kind of feels a little bit pointless. Yeah, loving it. Okay, bear with me while I hit the hairdryer again. I don't think I could get it any better. That is absolutely phenomenal. It's absolutely brilliant. And what I can do is I can start just dry brushing in some highlights in there. You can see where it's ever so slightly glossy. See there's little reflections just kind of occurring in here? That's where the enamel is still wet. So I'm going to give it another blast with the hairdryer. And I think it's time for some ever so slight highlights. Not that you would normally do that, but there's things like the whites and things I want to bring out, and a little bit of the silver, and then that's that really. That is that. I think this guy is good. It's done. I could obviously put some colour in the eyes. What do you guys think? Jeff says, do you know he almost looks better gloss? Do you think the varnish will pop the colours? I think that the whole Grimdark thing is that he is supposed to be quite toned down, so without giving that sort of much reflection. I think I could just probably do like a little bit more, just enhancing some of the colour areas. I've never really liked miniatures that are gloss because it always reminds me, and it is just a personal thing, that it always reminds me of the old tin toy soldiers, which I've never really liked. But you know, I think it's all kind of just a personal thing. If you think it looks better glossy, then perhaps it looks better glossy. Do you see what I mean? It just looks. The colour tone variation in there is very saturated, but Grimdark is supposed to be desaturated. I don't know if I'm making an awful lot of sense. You can see the green really kind of glowing through. It's supposed to be softer, much softer. I just really work through, cut through those colours in there. Yeah. The way that green's kind of coming through, yet when I dry it, it all calms down. What's Leslie say? I think the way it looks pretty damn perfect the way it is. Ah, cool. Have I done something right on the show? Oh my god. Okay, one more time. Absolutely perfect, isn't it? Absolutely perfect. Jeff says, don't ruin it because of what I said. Leave it now. Okay, cool. I am thinking about hitting it with a layer of gloss because I can always go with a layer of matte. And I think that I should. I'm going to do the whole thing now. I don't care. I can always use paint stripper to strip him back down again if I want to. It's looking really good. Really, really happy. Any other colours that I want to enhance now, I think I'll actually apply colour over the top. That is absolutely ideal. So, let's get some gloss out. Just wash the brush off there. So look, we are nearly at the end of the show. I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer because I was just a couple of minutes late anyway. But I'm not actually going to go until this guy is done because I think that it'd be really nice to have a finished miniature on the show. Oh, missed a little bit down the bottom there. Maybe something's just run out. I'm going to just hit over him again with the hairdryer. Bear with me. Or if I just dropped. Oh, I just splashed water on him. Okay, cool. Just looking fabulous. So, gloss. Oh, I love a beer. Okay, where are my varnishes? That's a matte varnish. Nice try. Oh, what have I done with it? Oh no. I wonder what crackle media would be like going through the airbrush. Just got to find it because I put it down somewhere. Here it is. Got it. Gloss varnish. Not going to put much in. Just 2 drops. Just 2 drops. And if I want, I can always put more in. Okay. Because it might be that the gloss enhances how the contrast works on this model. Remember, I'm not really ruining it, it's just it's an experiment, so that's what it's for. But those colours are now sealed in. I could always put them in paint stripper or leave them to soak in alcohol. Soaking in alcohol will do the same thing. Nope, we need a bit more in there. Okay, let's do a couple more drops. 1, 2. That transfer's almost completely hidden. Just a little bit of 50-50 cleaner just to push that resin varnish through. Just purge that, and then again I'm going to hit him with the hairdryer again just to dry that layer of gloss. I don't know, if putting gloss then matte on top will make it look cool or not. Let's see what happens. Perfectly dry. Oh, ever so slightly tacky. Okay, it says put it in an order for some. Put in an order. Oh, you're talking about yourself in the past tense. I'm so sorry. Put in an order for some paints the other day and just realised I left some paints out. Ah, curses! I hate doing that. Time to go shopping again. I'm now going to hit him with some matte varnish. Now that we see what it looks like with gloss. Looks a little plasticky. That's why I don't like it. It has its place. I like to use it by brush so that I can get really clear effects. For example, when I painted the Eldar thing, I got this kind of clear effect on the gems on the side. When you compare it to the matte environment around it, it kind of stands out. But it's only one of the very few things I actually like to use gloss for. Okay, back in with some matte. Now that we know what that looks like. And I could also try satin, which is somewhere between the two, but I think this is definitely a job for matte varnish today. Excuse me, that's the beer again. Okay. One, two, three, four. Okay. I really do wonder what crackle paint would look like through the airbrush. Okay. Here we go. You can tell I'm getting brave now, can't you? Precocious, is that a word? Is that the right word to use? I put something that I wouldn't normally put through my airbrush, and now I'm like, yeah man, let's put anything through it. Let's see what happens if we put a cabbage through it. This is what happens when you put varnish through your airbrush, as it starts to block up. Come on now. I'll just have to... There we go. Does not like it, it dries so quickly. I think personally that's really good. Jeff says I used to paint all my D&D models with satin varnish. Yeah, it's a really nice effect. Again, I use it sparingly, but I do like to have all of the tools necessary at hand. Leslie says, I want to see you put a cabbage through the air gun now. What a pleasantly daft image. So sorry that I've given you that. It's never going to happen. Sorry. I do try to maintain an air of professionalism, sorry, when online, but actually offline I do talk utter garbage sometimes. That is not even normal for me. Cabbage. Okay, that is starting to really block up the airbrush a little bit, so I'm just going to leave that on the side and I'll give that a really good soak after the show. So before we go away then, let's just take a little look at this guy here. Absolutely in love with him. I'll take some photographs of him at the end of the show and I'll put them on Facebook so that you can see them. Chuckling, I am, says Leslie. So yeah, so that you'll be able to see him, you know, not just on the webcam here. Take some nice photos of it so you can see it. If you're interested, go and have a little look. I will also, if I get a chance over the week, which I don't know if I will, but I'll try, to just kind of enhance some of the colours, especially the silvers, maybe the whites and things like that. Might even have a go at the white just quickly now. Yeah, just kind of see what happens over the week. What I'm not going to do, but I will put him on a base, is I'm not going to paint the base for him yet. What I'd like you guys to do is I can't pick up the base. Why am I struggling? It's got a 32mm base. That's all I wanted to do, is just to show you. I just wanted to pick it up quick. Boop, like that. I don't know what to do with the bases on them. In the past, I've always put my Raptors on desert bases because I fell in love with them when they brought out the Taros campaign where they were fighting the Tau on the desert planet Taros. So I've always done sand on them, and I've never really done anything really inventive with the sand either. Never even painted it, just put sand on it, which is really lazy. So there's a part of me that kind of wants to do the Taros campaign style stuff with the sandy bases. Maybe I still will do that. But they are jungle fighters, so there's always been that thing where I've wanted to kind of put like jungle bases on them. So if you've got any ideas on what you think the base should look like, hit me up on Facebook or drop comments in this video. I search everything for all comments, so if you hit me up at anywhere, Facebook, YouTube or Instagram, I will read it, and I do try to reply to every single message. So yeah, that'd be great. If you've got some ideas on what you think the base should look like or what should be on the base, let's have a go. Let's do it. In the meantime, this guy is pretty much done. I just want to hit a gentle dry brush with a little bit of white on there, just to see what it looks like. I always struggle with the white because I've got like all these varnishes and everything, and like plastic putties. They all look the same. So that if you're ever wondering, oh, you've never got yourself organised, that's why. Is they all look the bloody same. Just a little bit of white there, and I'm just going to hit a very gentle dry brush. What brush shall I use? Maybe I should use a dry brush. I will. I'll use my little Citadel base layer just because I can be a bit more accurate with it. Bit of fluff in there, let's get rid of that. You can't see me, I'm just out of shot, I'm just applying. Just get, what's the guy doing? I want to know. Just wiping off the white so it doesn't go on so rich. I want a bit more control over it. Here we go. Just gentle then. Because it's 3D, stands out embossed. It's easier for me to get. Just rub it away with my fingertip there, just soften down the edges. One thing's for sure is I'm nowhere near as good as the guy on the Grimdark Compendium. Even if you're not going to have a go at this, just go and have a look at how good his stuff is. It really is fabulous. You really are going to be blown away, and it really does create some quality videos. So head on over, have a little look at it. Look at the contrast on that. Look how that stands out. That's fantastic. Yeah, head on over, please do. And tell you what, if you do head on over there, do go and write a little comment in the comment section and tag Easy 8 in it. Spread the word of Easy 8 and let's get us connected with other people out there in the community and say, hey, we got directed here by Easy 8. That would make my day. It would get us connected, and you never know what might happen in the future. It'd be wonderful. I am now going to use this little brush here, and I'm going to do the same. Bit of white paint just there on the end of that. Nice little tip. I'm going to be quite gentle with this because it is a brand new brush, but it's synthetic and I don't want to ruin it. But if I can just do a little bit of accurate dry brushing in here, that enhance that little skull mask. Look at that. And I can do the same with the flesh colour as well, and just kind of just bring in that sort of bolt patch if you like. And there we have a focus point. Got to have somewhere where your eyes are drawn to. It's essentially making eye contact. When we talk to people, we look at people, we don't see the whole frame. Generally, we make eye contact. That's our point of focus. When you're looking at a model, you need to be able to do the same thing. So when you look at him, the white part should stand out. And again, just over here, I have just run out of white paint there. I think, yeah, I think that's good. 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 I think that's good Ladies and gentlemen, I've just finished a model on this show. There we go. Cool, huh? I'm so happy. Kessin says, I think they will look great with just jungle-based large leaves, branches and such. Yeah, you're right. Probably will do it. I think they deserve a nice jungle theme base. And Jeff says, I have grass tufts. Cool. Yeah, I actually have all the stuff to make grass tufts. That's for another show. Got an itch on my neck. Ah, cool. He's done. Just take that in. Let me get rid of this background here. Here you go. Leslie says, epic, barely touches on how cool that marine is. I've got to go now, but yeah, again, another awesome show, dude. Until next time, thank you very much, Leslie. And that is actually the end of our show here. We've gone over by a few minutes longer, but whatever. It's been fun, right? Let's come away from here. Where are we? Here we go. What a wicked afternoon, evening, night, whatever you want to call it. I'm stoked with it. I'm gonna do a little bit more with the white. I'm gonna do a little bit more with the metal, and I'm just gonna bring that the skin color out on him as well, just to kind of give those little focus points, just so it kind of stands out. Not really so much in the detailing, but it's just having kind of stark contrasts as the detailing. Jeff says, nice, thanks. Yeah, it's really cool. Really, really happy with it. I might also do a little bit on the leather, just kind of bring those base colours back in a bit more, just so the colours stand out a little bit, or at least they are more easily identified. Yeah, and then I'll see if I can do a little jungle base for him, and I'll pop him on Instagram. I'm absolutely over the moon with him. Absolutely brilliant. I hope you guys have had a cracking evening. I hope you got through all of the projects and things that you wanted to do this evening. I'd love to see what you've been up to, so do put pictures up over on Facebook, because we're not just here on YouTube. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Discord, where I'm going to be for a little while after the show this evening. So if you're interested, want to have a chat, come on over and join in the video chat over there, or you can just type with your hands if you want to. Yeah, come and join over. The few people that come in for the Easy 8 after party. It'll be lovely to come and have a chat with you. So yeah, until next week, that's enough for me, really. It's been brilliant. Maybe we'll see Kyle soon. Who knows? Easy 8's first birthday just around the corner. He better make an appearance. Anyway, it's been a brilliant show this evening. I've enjoyed myself. I hope you guys have had a cracking time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the little bell icon, all the things that they always say on other YouTube channels. You know how it goes. And until next week, be safe, be kind, keep on painting, and I'll see you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye. So damn cool.